After 2 wood-frame schools burned to the ground, Clark Summit opened a brick building on Grove Street around 1910. In 1911, Clark Summit was incorporated as a borough. The same year, the Clark Summit Church became a full-time appointment. Chinchilla and Clark Screen formed a charge together. In 1912, Guy Lampier was appointed as pastor. The Clark Summit congregation was growing rapidly. An addition was placed on the 1895 building, which doubled the size of the church. It was reopened in November of 1912. Newspapers at the time mentioned that a gymnasium was to be announced for the following year. The gymnasium was never built. The Reverend Clinton B. Henry served the church in 1915, just as the automobile began to make its way in the Abingtons. However, the railroad was still the chief driver for economic activity. The Lackawanna Cutoff Project of the DL&W took the trains out of the riverbeds and forged a new way through the mountains. The chief piece of this project has been called the Nicholson Bridge and the Tunkhannock Creek Viaduct, or a combination of any of those words. It was completed by 1915 and created the fastest path from New York City to Buffalo. This project also eliminated Cottage Lake. In 1916, Howard Isby, a charter member of the Clark Summit ME Church, opened a pharmacy in downtown Clark Summit. This later became Keen's Drugs, Taylor's Hobby World, Duffy's Coffee Shop, and now houses a small church. In 1917, the United States declared war on Germany and entered what would become known as World War I. The Methodist Episcopal Church had always been active in the temperance movement. The Clark Summit Church held many meetings of the Women's Christian Temperance Union and the Anti-Saloon League. By the end of the decade, the efforts resulted in the national prohibition of alcohol sales. The decade closed on a happy note with a big parade to welcome the soldiers back from the Great War. The table was set for a decade of prosperity.